Hi everybody. So I'm seeing a little bit of struggle happening with the close reading part one journal assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this just a little bit for you, give you some hints and ideas of things that you want to focus on. But I am going to read through this really quick so that we have an idea of what we're talking about and give you a little insight on what's in the actual excerpt. So Beatty is talking to Mildred, and so they're basically just talking about, right now they're talking about how things have changed over time. So that's kind of a really key concept. So Beatty peered at the smoke pattern he had put out on the air. Picture it, 19th century man with his horses, dogs, carts, slow motion. So he's talking about like a movie, basically, is what he's referring to. Kind of like a old slow motion movie is what he's talking about. Then in the 20th century, speed up your camera. So now the next century, now there's like faster motion pictures. Things have been more developed, right? Books cut shorter. Condensations, digest, tabloids, everything boils down to the gag, the snap ending. Snap ending, Mildred nodded. Classics cut to 15-minute radio shows, then cut again to fill 2-minute book column, winding up last as the 10 or 12 dictionary resume. So basically what he's saying in this little section and what Beatty's talking about is he's talking about how books and movies and everything have gone from these big, longer production, and now they're so tiny and small. So think about it when you guys are watching something on social media and you see that little 2-minute clip and everything is just condensed. So basically it's getting rid of everything but the meat of what you're reading or what you're watching, right? So you only see like the climax or the action. You don't see anything that builds up to that. So that's what he's talking about. So he's like, imagine that. Imagine that's what's going on, right? And then they say, I exaggerate. Of course, the dictionaries were referenced. So he's talking about dictionaries. Dictionaries didn't get cut short, right? Because those are reference materials. But many were those whose sole knowledge of Hamlet, you know, the title certainly, Montague. It is probably only a faint rumor of a title to you, Mrs. Montague, whose sole knowledge, as I say, of Hamlet was a one-page digest in a book that claimed, now at least you can read all the classics. Keep up with your neighbors, do you see? So imagine Midsummer's Night's Dream, Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, all compressed to one page. So that's what he's talking about. Everything compressed to that one page and all of that other information taken out, right? And he's talking to Montague, right? Montague knows a little bit about it. He's talking to Montague. He's like, you know about Hamlet, right? But of course he's referring to Mrs. Montague and to Mildred saying, yeah, you probably don't know anything about that, right? You've never even really heard of it other than maybe that one little one-page excerpt, right? And then the only reason they have those little excerpts is so they can keep up with the neighbors, right? So they can talk about that information, but not in depth, right? They're not talking about any of those things in depth. They're only talking about them on the surface level, which, remember, in Fahrenheit 451, everything with the people who aren't reading is that surface level type of communication and relationship, right? There's no deep relationships. So do you see, out of the nursery into the college and back to the nursery, there's your intellectual pattern for the past 5 centuries or more, right? So out of the nursery into the college, so they grow up, and then back to the nursery means that they're getting older. Means that as people get older, they get forgetful and those types of things. So that's what he's referring to there. Mildred arose and began to move around the room, picking things up and putting them down. Biddy ignored her and continued, speed up the film, Montague. Quick, click. pick, look, I, now, flick, here, there, swift, pace, up, down, in, out, why, who, how, who, what, where, bang, smack, wallop, bing, bang, boom, digest, politics. One column, 2 sentences, and a headline, right? So he's talking about everything has just been sped up, right? We no longer get to sit back and read and enjoy. Everything's just like information. That's all we're looking for, right? We're just looking at that information. 1 column, 2 sentences, and a headline. Talking about a newspaper, right? In a newspaper, everything is condensed down. Then in midair, it all vanishes. Whirl man's mind around about so fast under the pumping hands of publishers, exploiters, broadcasters, that the centrifuge flings off all unnecessary time-wasting thoughts. And remember, the centrifuge is what he's using to burn books, right? So basically, anything that's not needed, the centrifuge is taking care of, right? That's why they're burning those books. Nobody needs to sit down and read for long periods of time. Everyone just needs that information shoved to them. So that's what they're doing. That's what they're discussing. That's what they're talking about, right? So they're getting that information. So I know this will be very helpful to some of you, so hopefully it was. And hopefully you kind of understand the concept of this. We will talk about this section, obviously, in Class Connect, but I know many of you are starting this assignment, and I want you kind of on the right track. So if you have questions, let me know, but hopefully it was helpful.